Hello again, this is Foghorn with another installment of Flight School Academics for the 11th of February 2953 or 2023 if you're stuck in the past. This presentation is part of an ongoing series of academics for the members of the Aurora Republic, the premier role-playing organization in Star Citizen. If you are new to the Aurora Republic or visiting for the first time, let me start by saying welcome. Glad to have you with us, and I'd love to hear from you if you're interested in hearing more from us. We're a lawful good organization focused on roleplay, exploration, and social interaction, and are currently active in recruiting on Spectrum and Gilded. Tonight we will be going over the actor status system. Basically, all those different ways that survival mechanics is basically what it is. Hunger, thirst, damage, all that sort of thing. So we'll start by looking at the personal interaction menu, or the PIM, which you can get to by holding your interaction key, which is F. And then a right mouse click will bring up this radial menu. The radial menu is not what's interesting. It's the fact that down in the lower left corner of your screen, when you have that radial menu up, is your all of your status indicators. These indicators also will come up if you are wearing a helmet, and will come up in the lower left if they are in a state that requires your attention or is beginning to require your attention. It is a no news is good news. So when you do not have the personal interaction menu up, if you are simply running around and you do not have anything down in the lower left corner of your screen, then that means no news is good news. It means everything's okay. You're good to go. Continue about what you were doing. All right, so we'll go through these things individually. Like I said, it's always displayed on the PIM, and it's displayed on your HUD when something is becoming urgent. All right, you got the water droplets and the leaf that looks like it has FE for iron and B1 for, I think, for whichever vitamin B1 is. That is your thirst and your hunger meters. So 100% is good. It means you're all topped up on thirst. You're all topped up on hunger, which means you're not hungry. You're not thirsty. 0 is thirsty, 100% is not thirsty, and similar for hunger. Down below that, you'll have an echocardiogram. Those two bars. Let's see here. Right, get my magic laser pointer. Those two bars right there. When I captured this screen capture, there was not the heartbeat trace going through the middle of it at that instant, but it actually does show a little heartbeat trace, and it'll show you what your beats per minute are for your heart rate. That is a measure of stamina. So as you go running around, if you're sprinting all the time and your guy's exerting him or herself, then your heart rate will go up, and it'll go up to something around the 160-ish range. And when it gets there, then you will notice that you can't run any faster, and because your person is winded at that point, and you got to let them rest. When you do not exert yourself, when you're at a light jog or a walk, then obviously it comes back down very quickly. You have your little not stick figure, but more of your silhouette of your person's body to show if there are any locations that are damaged with a persistent injury, a lingering injury. And that is tied, of course, to the overall health meter, which is over on the far right. This will turn colors. They will turn yellows or reds if you're taking hits or damage there. And then if you have a persistent injury, a little flag will come up with a leader line pointing to the body part, and it'll say with a little number beside it, 1, 2, or 3, what tier of persistent injury is happening there. So if it's a 3, and they work in similar to trauma centers in medicine, so level 1 trauma center is the highest, worst case, best care possible trauma center. Level 3 is the low level, and number 1 is the high level. Persistent wounds are the same way. Level 3 persistent wound is the least, the lowest level of persistent wound and easiest to fix. Level 1 is the worst. You're probably suffering really, really bad effects, and maybe even on your way to dying via bleed out or stuff like that. And it takes the highest, most capable level of medical bed or hospital facility to be able to fix up a level 1 persistent wound. The next two are two different temperature thermostats, thermometers. The first one that's in a curve and it has a little world in the minute. That's the outside air temperature, if you will. As you can see, it will the needle will move up and down as your suit measures what the exterior temperature is. The straight bar one that has your little body beside it, that's your body internal core temperature. And obviously what's happening on the left will affect what's happening on the right. So if you are in a super hot environment without the proper protection, then you will see down beside your core body temperature a little caret that'll point up or down. And that will coincide with the fact that, okay, this exterior environmental temperature is raising your internal core body temperature. Doesn't mean you're in trouble right this second, but it does mean that it's going to continue to trend that way if you don't do something about it. Next one is your oxygen bottle. If you have a spacesuit on, that will be how much oxygen you have available. And then, of course, a percentage, a circular health bar, which is what the little plus is, of course, for health. And it counts down graphically in a clockwise fashion. So right now when it's full up, it's 100%. Obviously, if this first quarter was darkened and the line was right there, you'd be at 75%. And then, of course, if any of this is something that's going to be able to kill you in a certain amount of time, such as temperatures, it'll give you a survival estimate and says, hey, this, as displayed here, you got 9 minutes and 53 seconds before you're going to start going to death mechanics, because obviously because of the one that's highlighted red because of the high temperature. Let me turn the laser beam back off. Okay. Yep, just like I said, all those things. Okay, so your core body temperature is affected by both the external environmental temperature plus any protection from your suit. Your suit and armor all have thermal protection ratings. So the external environment temperature plus or minus the thermal protection from the suit plus or minus any exertion. You running around all the time generates more body heat, which is bad in a hot environment, but is actually a good thing in a cold environment. So if you are in a cold environment and the external temperature plus the suit protection is not enough to keep you alive, keep that cold from hurting you, you can actually run around a little bit and it gives you a few more degrees of protection because you're generating extra heat. Thermal hazards, hyperthermia, which is hot, obviously goes into heat stress and heat stroke. Those are modeled in the game. And cold gets you into hypothermia, which is cold, and that'll get you into shivering and frostbite, and those are also in the game. They will degrade your performance over time. It will cause visual effects on your screen. You'll hear audio effects, and then if it's not handled within a reasonable time, it can and will eventually get you to it will kill you. So hyperthermia, performance degradations, you'll start having vision abnormalities. The game will simulate headaches through an audio effect that you will hear. Things will sound weird. You'll start also notice that when you're in hyperthermia, your thirst meter will go down much faster. You'll hear, as you start getting really badly into it, you're an increase in your character's respiration, yet another audio effect. And if you get to that raspy, death rattly breath, that means that death is imminent. So at that point, things are actually getting really bad because while we do have medical mechanics in the game, what we don't have is the ability to hike a disabled person. If a guy goes down, if through hypothermia, or any other effect, somebody's unconscious, we can have the ability to body drag him. We can use a tractor beam. But what we can't do is put somebody else into a med bed and then us activate the med bed to heal them up yet. You can use the medical ray gun, and you can use the med pens and stuff like that to help them out, though. Hypothermia affects performance degradation. It would be shivering, which of course would impact aiming if you're shivering while you're trying to use a weapon, because it actually does mess with your aim. You'll end up with getting loss of vision, and that things will start getting gray. You'll start getting tunnel vision, loss of hearing. Audio effects will sound like they're all muffled, and then it'll start eventually it will start assessing limb damage to simulate frostbite. You'll start getting level 3 damage out on your extremities, and then of course the same raspy breath mechanic means you're about to die. Thermal protection from armor and clothing. can be seen on any kiosk where you purchase it. So you can actually look and see that in the description, right above the verbiage of the description, there is a stat block for what type of armor it is and what its damage reduction, all that. In there will be a line for its temperature rating. It'll give you a low and high end so that you know what the temperature range that this suit should be, that equipment should be able to give you thermal protection from. Okay, nutrition and hydration. So the way they make eating and drinking mean a little bit more than simply just a meter that if it gets down low enough, it starts killing you off, is that they also give small buffs and debuffs depending on the quality of the food and drink that you eat and drink. So for starvation effects, obviously, if your guys, do you let your hunger meter gets down to 0? And the starvation effects don't happen until the meter hits 0. Then when it hits 0, now you're going to start adding starvation effects. So 1% on that hunger meter, you're still good to go. Nothing's happening to you yet, but the second it hits 0, it'll start. So the performance degradation, you'll start getting the same similar loss of visions. Colors won't be as sharp. It'll start adding a blur effect. All that stuff. Same thing for a loss of hearing. Things will get quieter and muffler. You'll start hearing an irregular heart rate in the sound. You'll notice that your stamina does not regen as fast as it normally would. And of course, if you do pass out, then obviously you're kind of boned. Because unless somebody comes by and heals you up. Dehydration effects, similar, you'll have vision abnormalities and the headache effect, audio effect that simulates a headache. Again, irregular heart rate, raggedy breathing, and then of course passing out usually means that you're gonna die. So those nutritional ratings, everything that you eat or drink, every product has an NDR and an HEI. So NDR is nutritional density rating, and HEI is hydration efficacy index. The quite literally, the higher those ratings and indexes are, is basically equivalent of how much percentage of hunger or thirst you get back when you eat that item or drink that item in total. Excuse me. So obviously, the higher the rating for the NDR is obviously the more filling that food is. And the same thing, the higher the rating on an HEI means more hydrating it is. Does not necessarily mean healthier. It just means it fills you up more on your health bar. The food items and drink items that you get do have nutritional effects, and those are basically those buffs and debuffs I just mentioned. So they are, and I'm just gonna talk about one side of them because obviously the debuffs are just opposite. So you have hypertrophic, energizing, cognitive boosting, hypometabolic, and hydrating. There's also healing and immune boosting, which are planned because they've been discussed and they've been in the design paperwork that they've shared with us, but they have not actually, they have not modeled in foods giving you a small healing buff or immunity boosters or immunity suppressors and all that sort of stuff, or toxic foods, anything like that. They haven't really modeled those in as far as a buff or debuff yet. But the other 5, hypertrophic, anatrophic, energizing, fatiguing, all of those others have been modeled in. So for stamina, your hypertrophic, the words, if you read down in the verbiage, says increases blood flow. And what that means is that it reduces the stamina costs for exertion. And obviously the opposite of that, the atrophic, does the reverse. It'll say reduces blood flow in the verbiage on if you read the package on whatever the article of food is, and that will increase those stamina costs for exertion. Energizing will say boosts energy, and what that does is increases the stamina regen rate. So the first one of hypertrophic reduces how much the same action costs you on your stamina bar, if you will. Energizing increases how fast you get the stamina back. Cognitive boosting, the keywords in the verbiage is increases mental focus. That reduces weapon sway, so you'll actually find out that you can shoot straighter and better because your hands don't sway around as much in there. And it actually does sharpen the vision. It actually sharpens the like contrast ratio on your monitor through this effect. Hypometabolic slows digestion, which means it takes longer for your hunger bar. Your hunger bar lasts longer because its decay rate is slows down. Hydrating, same thing, increases water absorption, so it slows down your thirst decay rate. So how fast that thirst bar goes down, it slows it down when you eat things that say hydrating. Now for future stuff, healing means it will track. The code word is triggers natural cell repair. Or toxic obviously would do the opposite to that, and it would give you a small healing over time bonus as far as your HP without you having to smack a med pen or use the medical gun on yourself. Again, this particular pairing are not modeled yet in the game, but as part of the design, the toxic ones might actually, if they're basically means poisonous, and in future medical gameplay releases. When they do model these in, there may be toxic foods, if you will, or I don't know if you'd necessarily say toxic foods, but things that could be ingested that you shouldn't, because they're toxic, and it may be so toxic that it would require medical attention in the game. The other one is immune boosting, which says helps body find harmful pathogens. Well, guess what? Pathogens have not been modeled into the game yet, but they have talked about it. So that's actually kind of what they want to do in the future. Again, not in the game as of yet. So there you go. Some notes just to wrap all of this up, and so we can get into fly. Helmets off to eat or drink. So if you got a food or drink item in your hand and you're trying to drink it, and it keeps every time you get over eat or drink when you're holding F, the interaction. And if you get the little circle, the red circle with a slash through it, whenever you go over the eat or drink option, that most likely case is that you've got your helmet on, and obviously you can't eat or drink through the helmet. Next thing, when you're drinking, if you hold left click, it just continues drinking until the release. If you just click left, your character will take the cap off and take one swig. If you hold the left click, then they will continue drinking, and keep raising the glass or the water bottle or whatever it is, and they'll keep swigging away at it, and you can hold it all the way and basically down a liquid item in a single drag. Any store packaged food or drink can be carried in personal inventory in a backpack or in the pockets on your armor and that sort of stuff, but not quote unquote fresh food or beverages. So if you go get that hot dog from the hot dog stand, you can't store that in your gear and eat it later. But things like MREs, energy bars, candy bars, any beverage bottles or cans that can be closed can be. So okay, that wraps up this installment of Academics of Foghorn. Hope you found it interesting and helpful. If you have any questions I didn't answer, feel free to contact me via email, Gilded, or of course on Spectrum, or the comment section below if you're watching this later on the YouTubes. I will answer it to the best of my ability, and as soon as I see it, please hit those follows and subscribe buttons as appropriate, and comment your comments in the comments. As we are always striving to improve our content, you can find out more about us at our bespoke website, aurorarepublic.space, or of course on Spectrum at robertspaceindustriescom/org/aurorarep. I'll see you next time. Foghorn signing off, wishing you a very pleasant remainder of your morning, afternoon, or evening, and thank you so very much for watching.